Hey everyone, it's Tracy Martirana here from Holistic Wellness with Tracy. Welcome to my channel. Today is the 11th installment of my self-development book club, and we are talking about Meditations for Mortals by Oliver Burkeman. If you're new here, you should know that typically my videos are about healthy recipes, herbal remedies, simple living, meditation, yoga, that sort of thing. But at the beginning of the year, I set myself a personal reading goal to read a self-development book every month. And then I decided I might as well share those with you so that you can decide if you might enjoy them as well. If you're interested, I will link down in the description box my playlist for this so you can pull it up and see me talk about all of the books that I have read this year. All of the self-development books I've read this year, let me clarify. Those of you that have been around might think that this book looks sort of familiar, and maybe it's because earlier in the year I discussed this book, 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman, and I really loved it. So when I saw this book in the bookstore, I had to pick it up because of the author. Now, I should say that I think I looked at this very fleetingly, and I saw the meditations, I saw the 4 weeks, because the subtitle is 4 weeks to embrace your limitations and make time for what counts. And in my mind, I assumed this book was like a 4 weeks to learn how to meditate type thing, or how to, become a meditator in 4 weeks. I don't know exactly what I thought, but that's not really what this book is. When Burkeman says meditations, he means meditation is in like thinking and contemplating on a subject, like, thinking about something, not just meditating. But that's great. This book actually ended up being better than I expected because of that. The book is broken down into 28 chapters plus an introduction and an epilogue. Those 28 chapters are divided into 4 sections, so 7 chapters each, so 1 section per week. And the sections are being finite, taking action, letting go, and showing up. So each chapter in each section somehow relates back to that topic. And then the way each chapter is set up, each chapter has a title, and then below the title is sort of, you should call it a subtitle, but it's really like the meditation, what you're meditating on. So each one starts with the word on. And then there's a quote that sort of prompted that meditation. And then he goes on for a couple pages, sort of delving into how he thinks about that topic or that concept. Now, because it's set up that way, it does make it a little bit difficult to give you like a broad overview of the whole book. So I'm going to give you just a couple example chapters. So how, like the title, the meditation, the quote, and then maybe something that, like a line or two that I underlined of Burkeman's while I was reading it. And that should give you a clue as to how the book feels. And then you'll know if it's something you're interested in reading. I'm going to start with day 3. The title of this chapter is You Need Only Face the Consequences. The meditation is to meditate on paying the price. And the quote that sort of sparked this chapter is from Sheldon Kopp. It is, "You are free to do whatever you like. You need only face the consequences." Now, as I was reading the book and reading Oliver Burkeman's words, I ended up highlighting a few different things. I'm going to share 2 from this chapter. The first one is, there are no solutions, only trade-offs. And the second thing I highlighted was, the only 2 questions at any moment of choice in life are, what is the price? And am I willing to pay it? Like, is it worth paying? This chapter reminded me that every time you make a choice, if you can think about it in that way, that you are free to make whatever choice you want. So there's no I have to do this or I have to do that. It is, I choose to do that, or I choose to do this. And that feels much more empowering. So you are making the decision with every choice you make because of the consequences. You could do whatever you want, but a lot of times the consequences sort of change our thought process on it, right? Whether it's you hate your job and every day you wake up and you think, oh, I have to go to work. It's not true. You choose to go to work because you don't like the consequences of not going to work. You want the paycheck. Okay. You need to pay your bills, right? You have a mortgage, you have a car. You don't want to give those things up. So you are choosing to go to work so that you can have those things. It's empowering. The next one I'm going to share is day 14. The title of this chapter is Develop a Taste for Problems. And the meditation on never reaching the trouble-free phase. And the quote that inspired this was a Haitian proverb that is, beyond the mountains, more mountains. And one of the things I highlighted while I was reading this chapter was grappling with all the somethings is what life is fundamentally all about. And it just made me think that, yes, solving problems, fixing issues, that is life. like at no point in life, or I should say for very small sections of life, do we ever have time where we're not fixing a problem, trying to design our future. Like there's always something to be doing, to be thinking about, to be analyzing, to be solving. And again, it doesn't have to be like big issues. Yeah, we don't necessarily want crisis after crisis, but we do have to realize that troubleshooting, fixing issues, that is what life is all about. And as soon as you realize that, sort of the daily frustration of it just being one more thing, like it's always a problem, there's always something, it's always something. Once you realize that is the case, the stress from that kind of lessens, and you can just kind of like, all right, guess we're just going to go with it. That's what life is. And that's not meant to be depressing, it's meant to be empowering. And then the last one I think I'm going to share with you is day 21, which is what's an interruption anyway? The meditation on the importance of staying distractible. The quote for this one was from C.S. Lewis. It is, "The great thing, if one can, is to stop regarding all the unpleasant things as interruptions of one's own or real life. The truth is, of course, that what one calls the interruptions are precisely one's real life, the life God is sending one day by day." And then just to share a couple things that I highlighted while reading this chapter, ponder the strange assumption that's baked into the notion of minimizing interruptions and blocking out distractions. The idea that these labels can confidently be applied to things before they happen implies that you always know in advance the best way for any portion of your time to unfold. And then I also underlined, the natural state of the mind is often for it to bounce gently around, usually remaining only loosely focused and receptive to new stimuli, the state sometimes known as open awareness, which is a meditation. But the idea here is that our lives are made up of distractions. What we think of as distraction is just a normal part of the day. You can try to focus, and yeah, granted, there are times when you do really have to focus on something for a small amount of time. You need to work on this project for the next hour and you really can't be distracted. But chances are you're still going to be distracted, even if it's just from your own thoughts. Or maybe it's just the sound of a lawnmower outside or a flashing light somewhere. Like, who knows what's going to distract you? But you have to remember that not all distractions are bad. They are just part of the world, and there's not much you can do about it except learn to accept that. Now, my last thoughts on this book. Yes, there were a couple chapters that I wasn't quite as enthralled with, that I was like, okay, they didn't feel sort of as empowering or interesting as some of the others, but most of them I really did enjoy. And while I only shared a couple little highlights, every chapter was good. There was something to take from each one. Unfortunately, without spending a good hour here, I couldn't go through every single chapter with you, and nor would I want to, because I want you to pick up a copy of this book and read it for yourself. You can do it over a whole month. You could do it over more than a month, obviously. You could do one chapter a week if that's what felt good to you, or you could sit down and just read it straight through. I do think that taking time and reading it slowly is the better way, because the faster you're trying to get through it, the more I think you will miss stuff, or you'll read it and forget it kind of thing. I do really think that reading one chapter and then trying to come back to it a couple times throughout the day and think about it, maybe even plan that out, like read the chapter in the morning, after lunch, revisit at least, the beginning part, the title and the meditation and the quote. And then maybe before bed, again, just look at the first page, the title, the meditation, the quote, and contemplate it a little bit and think about what it means for your life. Now, again, down in the description box, I will include the playlist to all my videos. I will include links to all of the books. I will also include links to my blog posts on these books, which are very similar to what I'm saying here in the videos, but if you prefer to read it versus watching it, that might work better for you. I encourage you, check out some of these books. It has been a great reading year. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to click the like button, maybe hit subscribe so that you never miss a future video. Have a great day.